In this video, we will discuss what is feedback in amplifiers, and we also discuss about the different types of feedback in amplifiers and why positive feedback is not generally used in amplifiers. Feedback is a technique in which a portion of output return to the input. Suppose this is a amplifier and this is the input of the amplifier and this is the output of the amplifier. You give any signal to the amplifier, to the input of the amplifier, and you will get in the output the amplified version of the signal. And if we take a portion of this amplified signal again to the input, then it is called feedback. That means we have returned a fraction of the signal again to the input by means of a circuit which is called feedback circuit. There are two types of feedback circuits. One is called the positive feedback circuit and the second one is called negative feedback circuit. What is a positive feedback circuit? When the feedback energy is in phase with the input, the feedback is called positive feedback. That means in positive feedback, the feedback energy is in phase with the input. What is phase in the input? Let us see. Suppose in the input you have a sine wave. Suppose this is a sine wave given to the input of the amplifier, and in the output you will have a wave which is 180 degree out of phase because the amplifier shifts the signal 180 degree. There is a 180 degree phase shift in the amplifier. You can see from the shape of the wave. Here the shape of the wave is like this, but here the shape of the wave is turned 180 degree. So this wave, you can feed this wave again to the input. You see, this is a feedback circuit, and here in the input of the feedback, you have the signal in the same form. There is no phase shift. But after passing through this feedback circuit, here you see there is 180 degree phase shift. You see the input signal and you see the output signal. Here you have 180 degree out of phase. So if you look to these two waves, this is the input and this is the feedback signal, and they are in same phase. They look same like. They looks in the same form. And this is called the feedback energy is in phase with the input. This feedback energy is in the phase with the input. And if such happens, if you use a feedback circuit which is in phase with the input, this is called positive feedback. And what is the advantage of the positive feedback? The advantage is the gain of the amplifier increases. Here the gain of the amplifier increases because the feedback energy is in phase with the input. That is why the gain of the amplifier increases. But what are the disadvantages of positive feedback? The disadvantages in positive feedback is here there is increase in distortion. That is why there is increase in instability. Hence, positive feedback is not generally used in amplifiers. It is used in narrow band amplifiers, basically in radio frequency amplifiers where narrow band is used. In these cases, we use positive feedback amplifiers. But positive feedback amplifier is used in oscillators. In oscillators, we use positive feedback amplifiers. So due to increased distortion and increased instability, we do not use positive feedback in amplifiers, but it is used in narrowband amplifiers, that is the radio frequency amplifiers, but positive feedback is used in oscillators. Then what is negative feedback in amplifiers? When the feedback energy is out of phase with the input, the feedback is called negative feedback. So in negative feedback, the feedback energy which comes from the feedback circuit is out of phase from the input signal. So this is the block diagram of the negative feedback circuit. This is your amplifier and this is your feedback circuit. And in the amplifier you give the input signal, and in the output you will get the 180 degree phase shift of the signal. You see, this is the, suppose, sine wave, then this will be inverted sine wave. There will be 180 degree out of phase. And if you give a fraction of this output signal again back to the, by means of a circuit to the input, it is called the feedback circuit. And this is a fraction of this output signal. And in this feedback circuit, negative feedback circuit, this signal, the input signal which is given to the negative feedback circuit, what happens, you see there is no phase shift. Here the shape of the signal is same as the shape of the signal in the output of the feedback circuit. So they are in the same form. So if you again give this signal which is coming from this feedback circuit, which is given to this input, if you add it, this signal and this signal, then there will be, what happens? There will be out of phase with the input signal. So the feedback energy is out of phase with the input, then that is why it is called negative feedback. And why negative feedback is used? Because the gain of the amplifier decreases. Since the feedback energy is out of phase with the input signal, the gain of the amplifier decreases. Since the gain of the amplifier decreases, because gain is equal to output by input, here the input signal is reduced. That is why gain will be more. The input given to the amplifier after feedback, that is reduced in the input signal because of it is out of phase. So you will get the output will be less. That is why gain will be less here. So gain of the amplifier decreases, and as a result of which the distortion, noise and instability are reduced. That is why negative feedback increases the bandwidth. So we use negative feedback in amplifiers. We use negative feedback in amplifiers and positive feedback in oscillators. So this is about the feedback in amplifiers. So you will write what is feedback in amplifier. Feedback is a technique in which a portion of output return to the input, and you have two types of feedback. One is your positive feedback, another one is your negative feedback. So why we do not use positive feedback in amplifiers? Because positive feedback, what happens? It increases distortion. But positive feedback also sometimes we use in narrow band amplifiers, that is radio frequency amplifiers. Where positive feedback is used? Positive feedback is used in oscillators, but negative feedback is used in amplifiers. And in the next video we'll discuss more about feedback in amplifiers. That means how feedback, what is the role of feedback circuits. This is the feedback circuit. What is the role of feedback circuit in input impedance, output impedance, and also we will discuss about the the role of feedback circuit in practical circuits. We also discuss the uses of feedback circuits. And if you like this video, then share and subscribe, so that I will publish more videos on different topics in physics. Thank you.